minifigure's $250, and this one is $5. Now, what is the difference between these? One is real, and one is sus. So I bought an absolute ton of fake Lego to try and compare them to the real stuff and see if you should get them, or if you are just better off buying the real thing. With that said, let's go. Now, first off, what is fake Lego? It's essentially this thing that looks like Lego, works with Lego, but isn't Lego. But the thing that's great about it is you get loads of things that Lego doesn't make, like Fortnite, Among Us, Despicable Men. Yes, there is an entire line of toys called Despicable Men. But they also do things based off of the themes Lego already has. There are even some Star Wars ones, because regular Lego Star Wars is just too expensive. Today we are going to be taking a look at low-end knockoffs, high-end knockoffs, and everything in between, as well as even some sets. With that said, let's get into it. Now, to start off, I went on Amazon to get some of these regular clone troopers, and they came in pretty quickly. And once they are built, they honestly look kind of awful. I mean, look at this face. Not to mention that the helmets are just atrociously printed, and the quality of these guys just isn't there at all. Although they are easy to stand on a base plate, which is nice. I also bought another type of trooper, and while they do have really nice torsos and arm printing, like some of the best I've seen on knockoffs, the helmet looks really goofy, and the weapon they gave them was a actual power drip. This is not a blaster. This is a tool you use to fix things around the house. That's ridiculous. Also, the 501st trooper that came with this is probably the most absurd thing I've ever seen. Like, why? Now, next up, we got some really fancy figures from Etsy on the Galactic Brick store. Now, I figured he was pretty credible as he has 5 stars and 15,000 customer reviews and actually pretty decent prices. Now, here's some of the stuff we got. This is gonna take a while. First, here's a really normal Baby Yoda. And next to it is a really creepy one. I have no idea what the thought process was when making this thing. It's almost as tall as the Mandalorian. By the way, this custom Mando minifigure is sick because it captured the classic Lego look. We also have some of the best Jedi minifigures I have ever seen. The Anakin has great details all around his body. Obi-Wan also has really good printing, but the face almost looks squished, which is kind of funny. And Anakin's Padawan Ahsoka, I think, is one of the best minifigures I've ever seen. We also have the smoother than sand Padme, which again is a fantastic looking minifigure. So far, so good. And on top of that, we have cool Jedi. One has 4 arms and 2 double-bladed lightsabers. We also have Slave Princess Leia, because the real one is actually like $150. Finally, this last one is supposed to be Omega from the show The Bad Batch, and this is supposed to be like a 10-year-old child. How disturbing is this? Lego certainly won in this department. Overall, so far, my feelings on these knockoffs are when they hit, they really hit, and when they miss, unholy things happen. Next up is a scene recreation of where Obi-Wan had the high ground. I got to building and it actually wasn't that bad. The instructions they did give were awful, so I ended up using the QR code they had, and here it is. Clearly they are trying to do this set in the style of Lego's adult series of sets. And again, I'm pretty surprised at how good it looks. They nailed the figures, and the build of the set isn't that bad. Although Anakin does look like a bit of a stoner. In all, it took about 30 minutes, and I'd say it's a solid 10 out of 10. Next up, I built a handful of Mandalorians, and these guys are a bit of a mixed bag. Now here's the Lego version of the armorer, which is already pretty bad. And here's the fake one.
Are you serious right now, bro?
Aside from it looking completely goofy, they literally printed a dude face for the minifigure. Like, this is not supposed to be a dude. They also do this thing with some of them where they give them really disproportionately sized armor that I think just makes them look way cheaper. Like, we have these really, really cool ones over here with some of the best printing I have ever seen on minifigures, and then you have this. You also, again, do sometimes have exceptions. The armor on, say, the Mandalorian could look cool, but I think it just doesn't work well with the way they have the helmet and everything. And don't even get me started on the oversized blasters that Django's holding, let alone his face. Look at this dude, it's so freaking goofy. Again, this wave is really hit or miss for me. Half are fantastic and half feel really cheap. Now next up we have some random figures, like this ugly stormtrooper. But as Batman says,
does it come in black?
Yes, it does. And gray, which isn't nearly as cool. We also do have some really neat looking troopers from the game Jedi Fallen Order. And just a weird thing I noticed while looking at these is they gave you 2 skin tone options for the face, which by the way, you don't even see because the helmet's covering it. Like, why would you make me choose between those two? Such an odd design choice. There's also this sick looking Tusken Raider. I love his gaffy stick. There's also this goofy looking Dark Trooper. I just don't like the way this one looks. And then they have a minifigure variant of it too, as well as this Rebel lady and your mom when you're caught with a DS under your pillow after bedtime. Now next up, I decided to put together this knockoff gunship I also did buy, and it actually kind of exceeded my expectations expectations. Now, the build process for it was a bit of a pain in the butt. Aside from me doing it in the dark, it also was just a little difficult. The problem with this thing is the minifigures, and they are some of the most cursed things I've ever seen. First up, the clones are completely misaligned. They just look ridiculous. The little face print, I don't even know what's going on with this helmet. Obi-Wan is completely miscolored. His beard does not match his hairpiece, and oh my gosh, Anakin and Padme. What is going on with the faces? Padme looks like a serial killer, and Anakin looks like he just committed several heinous crimes. I mean, well, I guess he did.
Skywalker, there are too many of them. What are we going to do?
But as for the build, it's actually not bad. We do get bubble turrets, you do get play features, you are able to load guys up into the ship, move the doors, that sort of thing. And instead of paying like $500 for a sealed one, I think that the price of this one's around $150, which isn't bad. Now the problem is we're missing actual troopers to put into the set. Well, lucky for me, I bought a ton of clone troopers. So we're gonna load those all up in, and we're going to have a giant battlefield, so stay tuned. So anyway, I started putting together the clones. There are a metric ton of them. 501st, Delta Squad, even the Bad Batch came in. Like, what? And let me tell you, after building these, I had so many leftover clone hands, it was absurd. These guys over here come with like actual war weapons, like that are really, really long. Some of these are like taller than like 2 minifigures. And again, we have actual war weapons. Like, what? We also have some that are borderline disturbing. Like, I don't even know what was being thought during the making of this Captain Rex minifigure. Then we got some purple boys. We have a little commander there. And I'll be honest, I don't like this one too much. I actually prefer Lego's design to this. We also have the 501st Squad. Now, these guys were prominent in the Clone Wars series. Unfortunately, I do not know all of their names. Just kidding, of course I do. But I'm gonna ask all my hardcore fans down there to put the name of each clone trooper you see here in the comments. Then we got an absolute metric ton of clone commandos. And to show the difference between the more low quality figures and the high quality ones, I got both variants of Delta Squad. We have a really high quality variant of Delta Squad, and then a really chunky one. I'll be honest, the chunky ones don't look awful per se, they're just really bulky and they feel certainly cheaper. And then we also have the Bad Batch, who look sick. I really like the way they did the Bad Batch. I especially love the Crosshair minifigure. I think it's one of my favorite minifigure designs ever. As well as some other commanders. We also have, of course, the legendary Commander Cody and his airborne troopers. These airborne troopers were on Etsy, and I think they are some of the coolest minifigures I personally have ever seen. The detail on them is wrapped around. Every square millimeter of this thing has detail. Now that we have that all out of the way, let's set up a battlefield. Basically what happened is the citizens decided to rebel against the Republic, and they had to send in their best Jedi on Mandalore to take care of the threat. Now the Mandalorians decided they were going to make some alliances with clone commandos as well as other various entities like the Empire. First up seemed like the most obvious thing, and that was to load up the Republic gunship. We also stuck Baby Yoda as one of the pilots because I don't know what to do with him. Then we set up a 501st attack force on the flank of the ship. We have all our ARC Trooper boys, Rex of course, and we even have Anakin heading up the battle. But we have the purple ones, the commanders, everything. They're all on the Republic side. And then after that, we decided to take a look at the Mandalorians lines. We obviously have a lot of Mandalorians here. I figured we'd back up the back lines with commandos just so there's no confusion, and they could just duke it out. You know, Jedi versus Mandos, clones versus commandos. Oh, it's gonna be epic. But the real question is, who would win? So we have a lot of different groups here. We have Padme and the Coruscant group running in to save the day. We have Ahsoka and her troopers coming up the front lines. We put that really long sniper into place by putting the clone up on the top of the gunship. We have a little command going on here where Obi-Wan and Cody are giving orders to some of these commanders. We have the purple, red, and gray troopers coming into the battle. Finally, I'm not sure what to do with the Bad Batch, so I'm just gonna stick them in the back and kind of have them sit this one out. Oh, did I mention Krell's also on the good side this time? I don't know, I felt like it would be weird if I had all the Jedi on different teams. And then I set up the bad guys side. We have the clone commandos backing it up, as well as loads of just miscellaneous characters. We have the Stormtrooper Imperial side taking on the 501st. We have just a load of Mandalorians scattered about. We have Sabine taking on Ahsoka. We also have Princess Leia with a bazooka. It's really a mishmash of a team for sure. With that said, let's get the battle to begin. Pew! Pew, pew, pew! Pew, 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 pew. Pew, 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 pew. And it looks like in the end, everyone died, except for one person, and that is Baby Yoda. He was able to finish everyone off by using a giant freaking gunship. I mean, who did you think was gonna win? The one with the giant vehicle or just a bunch of random little dudes? Who did you think? Either way, I want to know what your favorite minifigure was out of all of these, which one was the worst and which one was the best, and has your mind changed on knockoff Lego minifigures? Mine sure has. Subscribe, peace out, and stay awesome.